OT had an opportunity to interview influential figures in the contact lens sector. We chatted about the sustainability of the industry and contact lens use. We spoke with CooperVision and Core about two sides of the product, its manufacture and its disposal. Let's begin with the manufacturing. A key question in the modern age where we are discovering issues behind what are seemingly simple products is, are there any hazardous chemicals in the manufacturing of contact lenses?
Hazardous and environmentally unsafe materials are an extremely important topic that we talk about all the time.
This is Aldo Zucaro, who looks after all things sustainability for CooperCompanies, which is CooperVision and Cooper Surgical. I asked him if anyone is paying attention to what goes into the manufacture of contact lenses.
Health and well-being of our workforce begins with understanding the materials that we're exposing them to. And then making sure not only are we careful if we are exposing them with certain materials, but also making sure that the treatment of those materials is done in the most environmentally sensible way. In contact lens manufacturing, there are not extremely hazardous materials, but we do use things like alcohol in it. And so we have to be careful about the alcohol. Our contact lenses, as they are processed, they do shed material. We don't want that material in the water. We take great care in cleaning the water before it is either reused or re-entered. So Lawrence, to your question, yes, I do care. Our health and safety teams care immensely, and we are absolutely careful to not do that. It's too big of a deal. It's far too big of a deal.
With that out of the way, and honestly just a little bit of a relief, let's move on to the sustainability of plastic.
So sustainability actually is actually pretty good if you're aware of it. So the big component, I think, and that's part of what we experienced here as well, is the message needs to get out.
This is Marc Schulze, who works for Core. He recently looked into the waste management side of contact lens use.
All of the companies have great initiatives in place. It's just a matter of us as clinicians to bring the message out more and be much more visible with presenting that.
Often I have discussions and people ask me about plastic, and I tell people always the same thing. Plastic is an amazingly brilliant material. There are very few things that do their job as well as plastic does. How we create it, how we treat it, how we manage it, well, that's much more on us than it is that is on plastic. As a manufacturer, I think we need to shoulder the burden of the design of the product. It is a small bit. It doesn't have a lot of componentry to it. A bit of aluminum, a bit of silicone, and a bit of plastic. They're not difficult pieces. In fact, if you think about them individually, they're wonderfully recyclable. However, we need to think about not only how they're created, and the energy that we use in transforming the raw material into the product, and then of course its end of life. We're making progress. We're not quite there, but we're making progress.
Speaking of end of life, Core produced a resource to show how much waste a regular contact lens wearer would discard over a year's worth of use.
For a typical everyday wear of a daily disposable lens, it comes to about 1.06 kilograms per year of waste. For reusable use, including the solution bottle, etc., it comes to about 0.83 kilograms of use. So that's roughly 25% more for daily disposable. When it hits 4 days a week, then it's pretty much even. So it's not that much more with daily disposables. Lots of people think daily disposables create so much more, but forget about the solution bottle. And what's more crucial even, you can 100% recycle everything that's to do with daily disposables, but you cannot for reusable. So although it creates more waste, you can recycle it all, whereas for reusable, some of it goes to the landfills.
A person's yearly total waste varies by country, but the average Brit will throw away around 400 kilograms of garbage a year. The amount of waste from contact lenses is around 1 kilo per year, which is 0.25% of your annual production.
If you look at the whole picture, it's not a lot. Obviously, it's more if you would not wear contacts, but then again, you'll need to correct your eyesight in some way. So glasses will go to the landfill potentially as well, depending on what shape they're in. So there is ups and downs with both. In general, it's not a lot compared to other uses.
So what should people do with their used contact lenses?
basically, if you're a daily disposable wearer, or you think I've created so much waste, all of it is recyclable. Everything when it comes to it. So basically the lenses, blisters, and foils, they can all go into the special recycling programs that may be around. So obviously you have to empty the blister from the solution that's in there, but everything else, the lenses, everything else can be recycled via one of those specialty recycling programs. So if anything is available close by, it's super helpful for patients to actually follow that and maybe do that as well, ideally, obviously. For reusable lenses, anything with regards to what I just said is recyclable as well. The bottles themselves, they are recyclable. So the solution bottles, which is an added factor here, they are recyclable through municipal programs typically, and that's probably the same worldwide. So depending which country you're looking at, there's typically if there's recycling options, then you typically can recycle the solution bottle as well. The caps and those tamper-proof little rings that are on there, they cannot be recycled. So they would need to be coming off, and they actually have to go into the household waste because they are too small. They will not be properly recycled and will go out there, basically.
This brought up something interesting that I'd not heard about. The dimensions of the product being recycled need to be above a certain size.
Exactly. Yeah. So 50 millimeters is typically the size or the smallest size that most recycling facilities can handle. They're working on scale, and so these machines have gaps. And if things fall through the gap, and they're designed in such a way to fall through the gap, and then anything that falls through the gap is either buried or incinerated. That's the shame. And so the question with the recycle industry is to encourage them to shorten their gaps. And we're also looking at ways to make a contact lens or the packaging in the contact lens resemble something that is larger than it actually is. So how can we get them to stack together? How can we get them to link? How do we get them to collect together such that they can withstand the stress of recycling but still be larger than 50 millimeters?
So what about the actual silicone hydrogel? Well, at the moment it doesn't get recycled as well as Aldo would like. It's a very useful material, but it's currently mainly being used as an impurity in durable recycled materials.
It is highly valuable, and so it doesn't feel right to take something that is very valuable and then treat it as an impurity in something else. So they're looking for ways to do that. We've tried a number of different things with it. We've tried pyrolysis recycling with it. So apply heat to it. It degrades wonderfully into materials that you can use. And then we've looked at other very traditional examples of using it. Can we just transform it, line things with it? And it does a good job in that perspective. So now that we know we have potential uses for it, the next big job, how do we focus on collection so that we could amass it in quantities that could actually be used in a commercial setting?
Core produced a helpful resource to help educate practitioners and patients.
The Sustainable Eye Care Resources is a website that is aimed at helping the public, and that's not only the clinicians but also the patients, to learn a bit more about what's actually available when it comes to better disposing of contact lens waste. It has two arms, so to say. There is the overall general website, which is all information accessible for everyone. But we do have a clinician site, which is for eye care clinicians to find out more about what they can do. There's infographics available with regards to the patient side, where patients who are interested and they're looking to finding out more about contact lens recycling can find out what's available. They can search a recycling listing of recycling options that covers all kinds of contact lens, spectacle, and also eye care product recycling options worldwide.
What would you tell contact lens wearers to do with their lenses at home?
They can just simply start collecting them, use a Ziploc bag at home. One important thing I noticed is if you actually pull your foil away from the blister pack itself, it will allow you to store much more in a plastic bag. Make sure the lenses are collected in a plastic bag or like a bin to then be disposed of somewhere else. Or if that's not available, put them in the regular garbage, but don't put them into the toilet, flush them, because if you do that, they end up in the oceans at some point, in the waterways around, and then they could end up in the intestinal systems of all kinds of sea animals, fish, etc. So not ideal for those if they take those up by just being in the water. So that's something we should definitely not do.
There's a bunch of stuff we didn't manage to touch on in this video, like how CooperVision generate their own power at their facilities, or how they got zero waste to landfill certification. They also do plastic offsetting and work with a company called Plastic Bank. They're also looking into better uses for the recycled silicone hydrogel. While we only spoke with CooperVision, this is a snapshot of what is reflected across the industry.
We don't have to be great to get started, but you need to start in order to be great. So let's just get started. Let's just get started.